video of the aftermath of the shooting death of a Patriot Prayer member in Portland shows a Black Lives Matter medic rushing to his side, attempting to provide medical aid, only to be pushed aside by cops who allowed him to bleed out. Okay, so this is the story about Aaron Danielson, who was shot over the weekend, and I'm gonna show you the video. It's after he's already been shot. You're gonna see a BLM demonstrator rush to his aid, and then just keep close eye on how the cops handled it.
Thank you.
Did anybody see what happened?
Saw a little bit of it.
No, sir.
I just came up here.
So the medic who attempted to help him, Sierra, did tweet about the experience. I want to share her tweets with you. She says, "I was one of 2 medics on the scene when the man who died last night was shot. I barely had time to begin an examination before the cops pushed and batoned me off his body. That man was alive when I left, and it will haunt me for the rest of my life. That they screamed about having a real medic and none was on scene, and that man not but 20 minutes later was confirmed dead. When I close my eyes, I can only see his face and the murderous rage in the eyes of a cop abusing me to force me away from helping him as best I could." So I share that with you because, well, for 2 reasons. First of all, there is this narrative, especially from dishonest actors from the right, meant to paint these demonstrators as dangerous people, as individuals who want to see violence, who want to see death, who want to see destruction, and that couldn't be further from the truth. But the very people that they're trying to protest about are the ones who pushed this medic away and didn't allow her to provide the medical aid he clearly needed in that moment. And so this is the narrative that doesn't get talked about. People just ignore it. But it's an important angle to this story. The first person who ran to the man on the ground, again, Aaron Danielson is his name, was Chandler Pappas, his friend. And the very first thing he did was push a female medic. And then later, after it was clear that she was a medic, he allowed her to come back and try to administer aid. But that's one angle to the story. Again, Malaika, that just no one seems to care about. Everyone runs to their corners, and the right wing continues their propaganda campaign against Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, you're right. It's this idea of people going to their corners. It's tribalism. It's an easy narrative. When I was on the ground in Kenosha and I was looking at the protests that were happening and the marches that were happening down Sheridan Road, which is the main corridor that intersected the courthouse where a lot of this activity was happening. People were out there of all colors, all ethnicities, and they're simply trying to engage, their constitutional rights to assemble and to protest. And most were doing so. And I want to be clear here because I don't want to make this distinction between, people who might be, a lot of folks, don't want to see the looting and confrontations with police. And unfortunately, in American history, until we had arson, until we had people damaging, public property, we did not get the sorts of laws that we needed passed. So I'm not trying to make that distinction here between like looters and peaceful protesters, but at the same time, I saw so much de-escalation coming from Black Lives Matter protesters who are still dealing with their own tragedy. These are people's cousins. Philando Castile, you all may remember, he was shot by a police officer in Minnesota. His girlfriend was the one who live streamed it. She was in the car with him, with her child. Her daughter has grown up now, and so they were both at this protest, and they were just trying to assert that their lives matter, a very simple and basic message. And so we saw armed militia, or whatever you want to call these people, in the park for hours, all day long. And they would get there ahead of the large crowds getting there, a handful of them, to try and de-escalate, to make sure that it didn't get out of hand. That was all through conversation. So whatever happens after that, it gets pinned on these protesters and not from the people who are committing the violent acts. So you have somebody who's coming out here to actually assist. And unless we get, things like TYT and Twitter, we don't find out these stories, because it's easy to just condemn and villainize people who are fighting for their rights, and frankly, Black people who are criminalized historically in this country.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.